Since I failed at obtaining Rainbow Six Siege's Platinum Trophy in 30 days from my last video, I decided to punish myself with a fun little challenge, one that I have never even attempted before, one that you may be familiar with if you're in the trophy hunting community, but if you aren't, let me get you up to speed. I will be attempting to get 10 Platinum Trophies in 10 days. Pretty self-explanatory actually. Oh yeah, and one other piece of relevant information. I'm a new dad, meaning I have a newborn to help take care of while going for all these trophies. So is it possible for me to successfully complete this challenge? Let's see what the first day has in store for me. What an appropriate game to get this challenge started with. A game where I'm tasked with climbing a mountain called Your Mom as a young bipedal bird. Okay, I'm sorry, I won't make another Your Mom joke again. Just kidding. This game has 13 trophies, most of which don't unlock until I approach the end of the game and do some cleanup. Long story short, I arrive at a small island and am given the challenge of disconnecting from the busyness of life to collect golden feathers that will aid me in my upward travels. If you're familiar with Animal Crossing, this game feels eerily similar, as there's plenty of humanoid animals to talk to, treasure to dig up, fish to catch and sell, and plants to water. I learn all about beach stickball, say that 5 times fast, the power of friendship, the power of horses, the power of fresh kicks, the power of Smokey Bear, and the power of toast, which I personally love as a breakfast guy. It's a cute and cozy experience that is surprisingly fleshed out and ripe with things to do. I did have to use a guide to find everything, and landing in particular spots was difficult at times due to the controls and camera work. But at the end of my 5-hour playthrough, I can say I really enjoyed getting this platinum trophy. A tier. On to the next one. Day 2 brings me a story about 3 bearded bros who actually know nothing about coffee. I know, shocking. Instead, seek out adventure and mystery. I'm gonna be honest though, I don't know what I was expecting for this game, but I was not expecting to play through a minimalistic point-and-click game whose main mechanic is replaying the game over and over and over again to see different endings, which, spoiler alert, all end in the crew either sinking or swimming, yet still returning to the starting island. 12 slightly different endings, 25 trophies, and 2 hours later, now I'm ready for something a little more exciting. Don't get me wrong, the simple hand-drawn aesthetic paired with the chill soundtrack and entirely voice-made sound effects really do give the game a certain charm. It's just not my cup of tea. I don't think I've played a point-and-click story game since I played Freddy Fish on my parents' computer back in 1999. That's not a bad thing, I'm just a fiend for explosively engaging gameplay. But I guess it is pretty nice to play these more chilled-out games while I tackle new dad life, which has actually blessed me with more free time than I originally thought I'd have. So it's time for me to get to work on the next title. Oh yeah, wait, this game's C tier because it's cool, I guess. To celebrate day 3, we're going to the moon to deliver a baby. Wait, what? No, that's not right. Hold on, let me check my script. Oh, it's called Deliver Us the Moon, whatever that means. Luckily for you, I actually can't tell you what that means. Essentially, everyone at the EPA got fired and now the Earth has gone to rubbish. Therefore, a moon colony was established to generate enough energy to keep the remaining humans on Earth safe from impending natural disaster. Except there's one issue. The energy being sent from the moon has suddenly stopped and all the astronauts mysteriously disappeared. So now I, a human still on Earth, am tasked with turning the power back on, just like I practiced in Call of Duty Zombies. This game sees the protagonist piecing everything together using audio logs, holograms, scans, and a few issues of the Walmart Spider-Man. I learned how to fly a rocket ship, built a little robot buddy, drove a moon rover, found some rubber duckies, and saved the Earth, all in a day's work. Now this game has 33 trophies, most obtained either for finding collectibles or doing random tasks throughout the story. None of them were outright difficult once I knew what to do. This is a bit of a puzzle game after all, and having a guide did go a long way in saving time. I think the only out-of-the-box trophy was for grabbing a power saw at the beginning of a certain level and keeping it until the end, but leaving it in a place where it will get smushed in a set piece moment. Very specific trophy the devs made here. But besides some of these random trophies and a few technical glitches, I thought the game was actually really well made. I was impressed, honestly. The story was solid and engaging, the action and mystery and puzzle solving were pretty top-notch without being over the top. The space person simulator aspect of everything was actually super cool to me, which I was not expecting. The game was fleshed out enough to create a great experience that definitely deserved a sequel. And 8 hours later, with 3 of those being spent AFK in the rover while I cared for a newborn that would eat until he pooped, and repeat for those 3 hours with another platinum trophy in hand, I gave this game an S tier and prepare for another night of very much interrupted sleep. Day 4 is for donuts, and this county is full of them. If you ever played one of those .io games on a school computer before, then you know exactly how this game plays. If you have not, A, you had a deprived childhood, and B, I'm gonna teach you. Basically, you start each level as a little hole, and your goal is to suck stuff up, becoming a slightly bigger hole after every object is sucked. Get your mind out of the gutter, people. There's actually a decent plot to this game, alongside charming characters, witty dialogue, pleasing visuals, and just overall fun design choices. You can tell the devs had a great time making this game. On the trophy front, this game has 21 trophies, about half of which I've obtained just for playing through the story, and the other half for doing random things throughout the game, like breaking 3 dozen eggs, beating the final boss without taking damage, and breaking into a secret vault. Nothing was innately difficult, and I was able to finish the platinum trophy in under 3 hours. But you can probably earn it more quickly than that if you know what you're doing. Donut County is an easy S tier in my book. Hopefully the next game is as easy as this one. Finding Nemo meets The Last of Us. That's what I got for day 5, and let me tell ya, I was not expecting how this game ended. Let's get into it. Endling is a 3D side-scrolling adventure game where I played as a fox looking for a kidnapped cub, and not only did I need to figure out what happened to my lost baby, but I needed to raise 3 more along the way. I experienced nature at its finest, while mankind polluted the environment more and more day by day. I hunted all sorts of critters, including mice, birds, fish, and the most elusive of them all, a bag of potato chips. I even had to find an actual Easter egg, and that leads me into the trophy list for this game. There are 28 trophies total, some obtained for doing some of the things I just mentioned, others obtained for petting foxes, barking, learning all the skills, finding all the traces of the missing cub, and progressing through and completing the story, with bonus points for keeping everyone alive. It wasn't a super difficult game for the most part, but there were some challenging sequences, including the very beginning. I suppose now would be a great time to mention that I was one shot if I ran into a human, and if they unalived me, then I had to start the whole game over, which happened to me on day 1. I wish I had my reaction recorded for that one. Anyways, what a wonderfully made game. I was not expecting to be moved playing this game, but it truly was a beautiful work of art. Everything about it was so well done. The environment, the hunting and hunger system, the interactions with people and other animals, the progression of the story. Even if I hated some parts, it wasn't because they were bad, it's because they unexpectedly tugged on my heartstrings, which probably are a little loose since I recently watched my wife give birth to our son, and all of our emotions are everywhere right now. Even the parenthood aspect of the game just hit different. This game has it all. I think I love the 5 hours I put into this platinum trophy journey. I imagine going into this game blind would have added a whole nother layer of problem solving and mystery mastery. I'm giving this game an S tier. Easy as that. I have to push everything else down, unfortunately. Perhaps I'll play with my ratings more at the end of this challenge. I'm not gonna lie, day 6 was a tough day for baby. Between constant feedings and a distinct lack of naps, I was only able to put in just under 2 hours towards today's game, Lake. My PS5 says I played 4 hours already, but at least half of that I was AFK for. Lake is a game that combines a postal service simulator with a small town drama simulator. That's kinda it. After playing through the first few in-game days and earning roughly half the trophies, I set it down for the night and rested up for day 7 in hopes of completing this game and another game. Completing Lake on day 7 has confirmed everything that I said earlier about the game. Nothing changed over the course of unlocking the total of 12 trophies, either for completing various tasks, visiting certain locations, or reaching certain endings. And now that I've had the pleasure of witnessing the events of the story unfold, let's talk about it. As someone who was born and raised in a small town and has spent a few summers working a temp job by a lakeside, this game is a pretty accurate depiction of both of those lifestyles whipped into one experience. Unfortunately, that might be the strongest suit this game can boast, as it falls short in some other major categories. Dialogue is rather shallow, cheesy, and doesn't actually affect all that much in a given convo. I know I used remote play through my portal for the entirety of the game, but there seem to be technical hiccups galore between textures and models just randomly appearing, audio going in and out, painfully obvious lack of animations, the only 2 movement speeds being walking and walking ever so slightly faster, and the dev's desire for realism being thrown out the window when I absolutely plowed into a stop sign and it stopped me and my postal van in my tracks multiple times. I promise I passed driver's ed. With all this being said though, I didn't really mind my 9-hour playtime. I put this little game in the B tier. Now, I need to start and quickly finish another game to get me back on schedule. The game that I was actually supposed to focus on for day 7 was an experimental puzzle game called The Gardens Between. Essentially, I guided 2 best friends through a series of dreamy islands using time. That's right, add the role of Father Time to my resume. It's a very unique adventure involving a lot of forwarding and rewinding through events to help the 2 kids make it to the top of whatever mountain they're climbing. This game has 18 trophies that include playing through the story, finding hidden secrets of certain levels, and completing the game. With only a 3-hour runtime for me, I can say that I'm glad I played this game. It had unique puzzles, a great difficulty curve that honestly stumped me once or twice, and a bittersweet ending that actually tied the game up nicely for me. Kind of redeemed the struggles I was having with some of the later stages. It's a great story about friendship and imagination, so putting it in the A tier feels appropriate to me. 3 hours of unpacking later. Get it? Because the game is called Unpacking, and I have obtained all 26 trophies necessary to complete this title. Now this is a pretty straightforward game. I played as someone unpacking their room or home every few years as they grow up and experience more life. I literally just took stuff out of boxes, placed the items where they belonged, and enjoyed the cozy sounding retro soundtrack. Of the 26 trophies, a chunk are earned for completing various levels, and most of the others are unlocked for interacting with particular objects, like a Rubik's Cube or a GameCube. There's even a trophy for putting a toaster in a bathtub. I can't believe I have to say this, but don't actually put a toaster in a bathtub in real life. That's a not so great life decision. But you know what was a great life decision? Platinuming this game. I actually enjoyed it quite a bit. It was actually the game I was most looking forward to playing during this challenge, as it's been on my backlog for a little while now. I'm not a huge cozy gamer or fan of unpacking boxes necessarily, but the game just has some sort of entrancing charm that leads to finding inner peace. By inner peace, I mean carpal tunnel, because I was flying through the levels, finally tuning each and every room I settled into. And even though my hands and wrists are a little sore now, I'd gladly put this game in the A tier. This game was a joy to play and didn't take up too much of my day. I don't have much more to add other than give it a try for yourself after you watch this video, and I'm gonna get a head start on the next game. After 8 hours of trying to perfect playing as a silly goose, I can confirm that I never want to play this game again. It made me quietly rage like no other game on this list. Let's talk about Untitled Goose game, shall we? This game has 25 total trophies, and since I wrapped up unpacking pretty quickly, I figured I'd keep day 8 going just a bit longer to start my playthrough of this goose simulator. And I'll give credit where credit is due, as this might be the premier goose simulator game. You can run as a goose. You can honk as a goose. You can grab stuff as a goose. And that is the entire gameplay loop. Now, what it does boast in charm and mischievous antics, it lacks in being able to predict and plan courses of action for each level, which ended up in me wanting to close my office door so I could yell at my monitor, without waking up my sleeping newborn, of course. I'm someone that very much appreciates being given instructions before starting something, whereas this game just gives you the keys and says, take it for a spin, which I did, and then never saw my instructor again. Some of the given tasks really do lead this game to be a puzzle game of sorts, and the trophy list follows that for the most part. There are a few trophies related to clearing out each stage, but most of the trophies are for bringing things from one stage to another to do something even more random than when I first played through the story, if you can even call it that. So after I completed all of the main objectives and side objectives, do you think the game gave me a trophy? Well, the answer is simply no. I was then tasked with speedrunning each stage in less than 6 minutes. And when I say this may have been one of the most maddening things I've ever done in gaming, I'm not kidding. I'm glad I wasn't recording my facial reactions to everything going wrong on most of my runs. But with a little trial and error and stubborn perseverance, I pushed through and obtained the platinum trophy on day 9. What a relief, dude. Game deserves a solid G tier for Goose. After that, I took a snack break to recuperate, and I scoped out the last game on my list. And by scoped out, I mean I only played what remains of Edith Finch for less than an hour before my son woke up, and I spent the rest of the night hanging out with my little family until they went to sleep. And then I scrolled and hung out in a Discord call with some legends until I went to bed. Guess this challenge will stretch out to day 10 after all. It's now the final day of the 10 platinums in 10 days challenge, and I went in very confident, as this game was a fairly short one that saw me play as Edith Finch, play as her now deceased family members. Kinda trippy and kinda morbid. It's giving The Last of Us Part 2 with just how much tragedy I was forced to play through, except it didn't land for me, as I'd platinumed this game within 2 hours. There were only 12 trophies to be earned, and all of them -2 could be unlocked in a single playthrough if you knew what to look for. 2 trophies were unlocked for replaying one story in general, and one story in particular. It was a very easy plat to end my challenge. But before I can officially finalize my tier list, I need to talk about this game a bit more, because, hot take, I didn't really like it. I will say, the variety of visual storytelling I experienced while diving deeper into everyone's stories was top notch. Really kept the game fresh and kept me on my toes. Unfortunately, I didn't find the game super gripping and probably would have dropped it within 20 minutes if I weren't playing it for this challenge. It just felt like a dark walking simulator. It was anticlimactic, it just wasn't fun in my FPS brain rotted opinion, and I won't be told otherwise. B tier, below B tier. It was well done, but I'm not the intended audience for this game. And there we have it, folks. I have successfully earned 10 platinum trophies in 10 days, and all it took was nearly 50 hours of gaming on my PlayStation Portal. Without further ado, this is the tier list I have to show for it. Now let's see, move this to the top for sure, swap those, and yeah, there it is. Any thoughts or comments? Let me know. Drop a sub if you want to support the channel and see more trophy hunting content. And just remember, you are loved and I appreciate you. If you want to backtrack a bit and see how I ended up being given this challenge, click here to watch this video about me trying to platinum Rainbow Six Siege in 30 days. Peace.